there guys, Steve073 here, bringing you a feature match for the week. This is two decks that you guys have been asking for a lot based on new cards and things that you've seen before. So this is James McMillen playing a Kaguya Bunny control, and this, I say Bunny mid-range, and Steve Groh's playing his green Reflect Refrain Beasts. So not being murdered by Crocker Shark, gets to finally show off what he built there, and James is going to be rocking Kaguya to show off all the new bunnies and stuff and her new resonator side. So looks like Steve's going to be on the play, I believe. Let's just go ahead and dig right in and see how this goes. Oh no, looks like James is on the play. I can't read dice, it's okay. So we see that first turn Apollo, probably because he probably plays some Ruler's Memoria, I bet. At least maybe one of. And then the Moonbreeze Elf, so pretty strong first turn play for Kaguya. A Sacred Beast Memoria from Steve, and we see that Survivor come out turn one. Pretty strong early play for him as well. If it doesn't get canceled, this is what allows him to get kind of that damage in. So he's going to filter with Reflect. Sees that Beast Queen's counterattack goes into his hand and then goes right back down to the bottom. So one thing that you can do as a player, this is just a tiny thing, is to like shuffle your hand after the filter so they don't really know what card goes down. That's just a little tiny thing that you can consider to add a little bit of extra mystery to what you do. So James just draws, calls for stone and just passes the turn, which is pretty interesting, but I think he's probably trying to see what happens here. He's got two First Flight Memoria, so he could tap those together to form a will of any color. Steve attempts to play a Prisia, Slayer of the Overlord, and gets Seal of Winded lighted, which takes James all three. If I was in Steve's position here, I would probably try to attack the probably try and pump my Survivor and kill his elf to set him back in will, but he decides to go just for damage and then stack an untap trigger. So James is down to 38. James calls that stone, gets that Moonbreeze Memoria, so now he's got access to white easier. Pays a green or a moon, I think. Oh, he spends everything to play a Prisia, so that's pretty damaging to Steve. That target attack and swiftness and everything else. So it costs him 4 to be able to do that, really, but gets the job done. Steve calls for another stone. It's a First Flight Memoria. Steve's trying to think about how he wants to get rid of that Prisia, because he's in a position right now where a lot of his creatures are just going to get killed by Prisia if he doesn't take care of it, even if they, because he's got target attack and the first strike and everything else. So it's going to be harder for them to survive, because a lot of his 2-drops appear to be like 5/5s, 5/4s, stuff like that, and those are just going to get killed by Prisia if they can't make a move the same turn they come into play. So we see Steve paying 2, bringing out Kujata, Sacred Cow, Battle Cow. Oh, and a Prisia's Call to Action, which is free for him because he's playing it on a beast, which is pretty nice. He's going to attempt to kill the Prisia, and then he's going to bounce it back to his hand with the Apollo. I think it looked like he was probably thinking about playing maybe a Rapid Growth or something. I don't know if he has it in his hand, but that was a pretty good idea to save it until no blockers were declared and stuff like that. So out comes another stone, a light stone, another Apollo. We're paying, it looks like we're paying 4 again to play the Prisia. Yep. So that is coming back out, and unfortunately he doesn't really have a way to stop it. No Wall of Wind or no way for Steve to cancel that. He's kind of trying to get explained how he's getting the will. And he uses the green filtering effect of Kaguya with Moonbreeze to give Prisia flying, so he can't be protected. That's unfortunate because Kujata is a pretty strong card in that sense. If it, next turn Steve could have just put a counter on it, killed the Prisia, and then swung it at the elf and done a lot of work. So Steve's thinking about whether or not he wants to call for a stone here. After playing Rewriting Laws, so all of those cards in his hand, he can play. All of his stones can produce any will at this point, which is pretty helpful. He's got a tech card that he needs to do, but it's also important for him to be able to draw more cards. So he's filtering with Reflect. He's going to go ahead and tap for that stone. Decides to play Prisia. He's going to use her effect on... Oh, okay. He's going to use her effect on the Moonbreeze Elf, and he's going to try to swing in with Survivor, and James is just going to bounce this back to his hand again. So Steve's doing a pretty good job of kind of bouncing back here with pressure. Every single time that those Prisias get played, Steve seems to be doing a pretty good job of managing the effect there. So Prisia comes out again, and the other problem is, James is essentially paying four to play that Prisia each time, which is pretty costly by comparison. So James is completely tapped out after playing the Prisia another time and giving it flying to kill Kujata. So he had another stone come out. We get a First Flight Memoria. So we have two Prisia Beast Queen and Hidings in his hand. Another Kujata. Then out comes a Prisia Beast Queen in Hiding, which will add a counter onto the Kujata, which will then allow him to fight the Prisia. So pretty strong move there, but Steve's going to take 500 damage from it, and then you can take some attacks. As I said, a total of $1,000 of damage for for James, coming from Steve with Survivor and Prisia, and he stacks an untapped trigger on the Survivor. Wow. Just when he doesn't have a Regalia after using it enough, he hits the Ruler's Memoria and gets punished for it. We see a Moonbreeze Elf come out. We see the Tsukuyomi Noble come out, so activated abilities can't be used. And then we see a bunny on the Sacred Knights to be able to tap something down. See that Rapid Growth coming to Steve's hand, which is pretty crazy with the Prisia Beast Queen in Hiding. So Steve's moving into combat here. He's trying to think of what he wants to do. He's trying to maybe kind of bait out that rabbit. So he's gonna swing in. He's gonna swing in at James with Prisia. He's not gonna block anything, and in response to no blocks, he's actually going to pump up Prisia +2/+2, which actually becomes +4/+4. Actually, in this scenario, Steve could have won the game right off of that if you see his stones He could have cast the Rapid Growth twice, which would essentially have added +16/+16, and he could have used his Sacred Beast Memoria to pump her up again, which would have been enough for lethal. So that lack of block actually could have cost James the game, but Steve's still in a pretty strong position here, so I don't think it really matters. So swings it with the Kujata and gets blocked by the Moonbreeze Elf, attempts to swing in with the Prisia. In response, he's going to banish his bunny to tap down Survivor, so he's not going to take that hit, and then he's going to accept the hit from Prisia. Gonna play another Survivor. Looks like he's got... Then he decides to flip with Reflect. So at this point, it seems very much so that it's in Steve's favor. He's got the advantage. He's got Refrain out. He's got a huge board presence, even with less, and he's got lots of will open, so he can make a pretty strong play. This just kind of shows that that bunny control can kind of have a problem if it doesn't get that princess. But there's the, so here it is. So here's the comes the princess. We'll just have to see if it's a little bit too late. So he has to pay 5 because of the awakening. So he plays all that, and he gets to go into his deck. It didn't get canceled, so he gets to go into his deck, and he gets to get 4 bunnies. So he grabs one of the Will Production bunnies, and then 3 of the Tap bunnies. The reason why it's not 4 Tap bunnies, I imagine, is probably because he doesn't have any left in the deck, because he already had to play 1. So, because typically you're probably going to mostly grab 4 Tap bunnies, because it essentially becomes put 4 spells on the field that let you tap something for free, which is an excellent control play. So suddenly a lot of board presence here for James, but the problem is he's going to have to kind of eliminate his own board presence over time, which can be a little bit of a problem. And so out comes a Angel of Wisdom Cherubim with no awakening, because there's no point, because everything on the field is green or white. And then James passes the turn there. So we'll have to see if his creature base is enough to make it work. So Refrain's going to go ahead and go in and search. Looks like he searched for a Beastly Attack. It's a pretty strong play here. If any of his creatures get, especially because he's so, James is so low on life, Beastly Attack could probably steal him this game if James decides to block with something. Let's see if he stays on Reflect. Oh, he decides to flip back to Reflect, yeah. Probably would have stayed Refrain, just in case, you know, being able to use it for something or cancel something, but James is tapped out, so there's no like spell that's gonna come. So before upkeep, we're gonna see some pumps happen on, I believe, let's see, I think the thing here would probably be to pump Prisia, just to have like the most damage possible, so that any of his potential creatures could with Beastly Attack make it happen. Yeah. Oh, he decides to put it on Prisia Beast Queen. So any of these creatures essentially now with a Beastly Attack and a Reflect Pump could do lethal if blocked, which is a really, really strong play from Steve. Especially since James has probably no idea that that Beastly Attack is there. So reveals the Prisia Beast Queen in hiding, for the Sacred Beast Memoria, then tries to move into combat. James is gonna tap down some stuff. His Kaguya is gonna get progressively stronger because the creatures are going to the grave. Let's see if he decides to tap down anything else. Not anything else right now. So he swings in for 10 with Kujata, which is gonna get blocked, and in response to the block, we're gonna see exactly. Oh no, he lets that one go through. I think I would have beastly attacked there, but then he can just sacrifice it in response, so that makes more sense. So we're gonna see the Survivor of Sisei swing in, and he's gonna banish the One of Holy Knights to tap down the last survivor. And we're gonna see 1, 2, 3 come out for the beastly attack, which will add the extra, and then he just pumps with Reflect to make it 14-14 total, which is enough to kill James after blocking the damage. So we move on to game 2. We'll see how things play differently for this time. James was on the play in game 1, so didn't really do much, unfortunately. I think Steve's plan is to do exactly what he did before. He's just this progressive mounting of pressure until eventually James isn't able to cope. Hopefully before he plays his bunnies. Yeah, first turn, Wall of Wind possible for James. Just calls for a stone and passes. Gets that first Light Memoria. Again, that's kind of unfortunate. Unfortunately, kind of a slow start. Even as a control player, he can play the turn 1 Wall of Wind, that's true. But it's still, I think he would probably want to do a little bit more in order to really make something happen here. He plays that first turn Survivor of Sisei, and it doesn't even get canceled, so like already Steve's gonna be able to start kind of mounting some pressure here. So we see the Moonbreeze Memoria, which is good. There we go, there's the first turn. There's the early game will ramping with the Moonbreeze Elf. He's immediately kind of turned around for James before Steve got too far. Calling for that second stone, another basic wind stone. Two for Priscia, which gets Wall of Winded. James was waiting to hit the turn 2 play because he felt like maybe he was a little bit stronger and more important to hit, which makes sense in this deck for sure. See a filter off of Reflect. Steve also has some Wall of Winds in his hand. Get another Moonbreeze. He's getting lucky that he's not hitting that Ruler's Memoria. He can play Forge, played that Priscia if he wants to. Oh, no, he doesn't have a way to make red. Oh, he does. Yeah, he pays an extra green off of the Moonbreeze Elf. So he essentially pays all 4, gets that Priscia out, and Steve's back into the same position he was in game 1. Another basic windstone. You gotta find a way to deal with that Prisia immediately. Otherwise, he's just gonna be having to continually dig out of a hole. It's just gonna get deeper every turn. So we see that Prisia come out to kill the Mood Breeze. And then a call to action, which will give her swiftness. And so she can answer. So Prisia can hit herself, essentially. Prisia's all over the place for this matchup. I think Steve's thinking about whether or not he wants to do it. I probably would. Probably give it a pump. And then pump herself up with the green. So I actually wouldn't lose my Prisia. He's going to take 500 damage from killing her, because you could pump her up +2/+2 with Reflect, making her a 6/7, and then you pump her up +1/+1 with the green wheel you have open, so she becomes a 7/8. And so your Prisia kills his Prisia and doesn't die. So out comes that bunny. Steve's turn, he taps for that stone. Gets a Sacred Beast Memoria. He's got to reveal a beast or a Sacred Beast. Reveals Kujata. It's almost to the point will-wise where Kujata can just come in, and then a Beast Queen in hiding can happen. See that Seal of Wind and Light? I think just Steve decided it wasn't really worth it to try to Wall of Wind it, because James has that extra will anyway. So he just plays a second Kujata out of his hand, which is pretty strong. Sets him up to be able to kill something pretty easily next turn with Kujata. He's got the will to be able to do it. Or play a Beast Queen in hiding. He's going to go ahead and filter off of Reflect. See that looks like Prisia's call to action, which he's going to play and draw. Now I would swing in with this Kujata at this point. Try to get some combat damage in, either that or force James to block and get that bunny off the board, which he does. So Steve didn't really lose much there, since Prisia's call to action lets him draw a card as well, and it was free for him to play. So we see 5, and out comes the Kaguya. This was a bad spot for Steve to have to deal with. He hasn't been able to build up a lot of pressure yet, and out comes at this kind of heavy control hit that does ramping for James as well as control of the board. He actually decides to grab 3 will production bunnies. It's a very interesting play there. Oh, nope. Changes his mind. He just decided to grab another. So he grabs 2 of each. So he grabs 2 tap bunnies and 2 ramp bunnies. It's probably what you grab in most scenarios where you don't really know what your board's gonna look like next turn. It's a pretty decent way for him to control things. He gets extra will essentially to be able to play control cards as well as being able to tap things down. Steve's gonna recover. He's gonna filter with Reflect. Looks like a Prisia, a Beast Queen's counterattack. Trying to figure out what Steve's gonna do here. He's staring down a pretty heavy board. Or whether or not to flip is also pretty important here. The other problem is Steve can't possibly know that James has a beastly, not a beastly attack, a sprint to the beast lady in his hand, so all of those bunnies can get potentially very, very big. So he just goes ahead and plays a counter on the Kujata and uses it to fight one of the bunnies, I think. This is kind of, I think, the play that makes the least sense, because he's just going to get banished in response and tap down the Kujata, which in turn is going to pump up the Kaguya and leave Steve completely open for an attack. But we are going to see the reflect flip, so that's pretty helpful for him. See that tap for stone. James is thinking about what he wants to do here. He sees that Lucifer in his hand. Can't really play it, but he's trying to think about what he wants to do. He's got lots of will to be able to make something happen here. Oh, he can. He plays the Lucifer by using First Light Memoria to produce darkness, so that Kujata's going to get sacrificed. That's just a really strong play here. And we're going to see a hit for, I think, 900. This puts him down to 26. And then 3 pokes for 200 from the 3 bunnies. I think the reason why we didn't see the Beasley attack come out here, the sprinting come out here, is because he didn't want it to get canceled by Reflect. So this way he lets, James lets Steve use up his orbs, his counters, so that that sprint to the Beast Lady is going to go through, and he'll just be able to push all that damage at Steve's face to close the game. Steve is definitely staring into the face of a very difficult situation. It's going to be very difficult for him to come back from. Go ahead and tap for stone. This essentially just locks James's plan into place for that sprint to the Beast Lady next turn. Out comes the Kujata. The Perseus call to action. I think he's probably trying to hope that he gets into a Beast Queen at hiding. But unfortunately, we did not see it. Gonna filter with Reflect. Try one more time. Still do not see it. He's trying to think about whether or not it's a good idea to just play a bunch of creatures, or play one creature, or try to eliminate something. See, he's got that Beast Queen's counterattack in his hand. He's trying to figure out if he should play that right now and try to take out something with it, like the Lucifer or whatever. Pays 1, puts out a Ratatosker. He does this so that James can't target any of his stuff during his turn. He can also quick cast in a wind resonator. Taps for Stone, hits the Ruler's Memoria, gets punished for it, but still has the will to be able to play that beastly attack, or the sprint to the Beast Lady. So all of his creatures get +6/+6 for the turn. This is not going to end well. So we see, first off, 15 in the air, which Steve has no way of answering, so he's going to just take it. And we see 6 on the ground, or sorry, 8 on the ground, which he's going to block with a Kujata, and then get beastly attacked. And Steve just says, okay, we're done, and moves on. He could have played the Wallowin that he had in his hand, possibly, to cancel that. But I think you still see so much extra damage that one of those attacks would have definitely gone through, and he would have been out of luck. In fact, in response to the block, James could have just banished it to tap down the Survivor, and then everything else could have swung in for free. So Steve's going to be going first this time in this game 3. We'll see who this pays out for, if he can mount that pressure before Kaguya comes out, or if James can outpace him. Steve going on the play definitely helps his case because he can get ahead very quickly. First turn, first Flight Memoria. Let's see if we see that first turn Survivor. We do. So Steve hitting that first turn play pretty consistently. It's gonna go ahead and stack a pump trigger on the Survivor for the turn, just to get the counter on Reflect because he really likes his hand. James gets that first turn Moonbreeze Memoria, plays that Ramping Bunny, passes it back to Steve. So on Steve in this scenario, I probably tried to look for 1-drops in his hand, and play a 1-drop to get around that Wallowind, because we've been Wallowinded on turn 2 every single turn. Tries to stick the Prisia, and it actually does stick this time, so he's gonna float the green will, because why not? But Steve finally gets to stick his turn 2 Prisia play, and now Survivor's a 6/6. He's going to filter with Reflect. Swinging for 600 damage, which James has to take. So really, really good early hit for Steve. See that 2-drop Moonbreeze and a bunny. This is no good for James. That means he opened up 2 bunnies in his opening hand, which means he's down to only 6 bunnies total in the deck maximum for Kaguya to be able to grab, which is not a good situation for him. He's gonna go ahead and filter. Gets another Survivor. Taps for the stone. Gets another Sacred Beast Memoria. Reveals the Survivor that he just got off the filter. So he also seems to have a call to action, which is excellent for him to be able to put pressure on here. He's gonna swing in for 6. He's gonna allow that to happen. Go down to 28. Swing in for a 4. Gonna allow that to happen too. Gonna go down to 24. I see a payment of 2 for a Beast Queen's counterattack to kill the Moonbreeze Elf. Probably would have done that in response to no blocks to get some extra damage, because Beast Queen's counterattack does pump up Prisia. So we kind of missed out on that a little bit, but still he's doing good at this point. He's maintaining that pressure and keeping James's ramp in check, so that he can't make use of Kaguya. He's got 3 of those bunny princesses in his hand. Ouch. He's just a little bit too short from being able to kill them. So Kaguya comes out with no awakening effect. She's just a creature at this point. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do here to push through. I mean, with James being tapped out, he's still got to worry about a wall of wind because that bunny's still there, so he's got to be smart about it. He plays the Forest of Sisei, which will pump up all of his beasts +2/+2, which is pretty nice. He's going to go ahead and tap for a stone. Gets a basic wind. So he's swinging for 8. So he's going to go down to 16. He's going to let that happen. Let's see. Another survivor come out, which is essentially a 1-drop 8/8 at this point, and a free Perseus call to action for him, which lets him draw a card, and still lets him get around a wallow in there. Excellent play by Steve. And there's another 8 coming at James, taking him down to 8. We're gonna see an untap trigger from Reflect. And pass of the turn. So Steve's actually saving himself. It looks like he's got that wall of wind in hand too. So he's trying to see if he's prepared for the Kaguya play. He's gonna try to, I think, wall of wind it. So we're gonna see Kaguya come out, and the wall of wind is gonna come out from Steve to stop that Kaguya. So James asked. So I actually had to step in here when they were playing. They asked me to clarify for them when the awakening payment happens. James was a little bit confused, but yeah, you do have to pay all 5 when you play the card. So as that, the wall of wind will stick, and there's no way for him to like wait to play the awakening. So his Kaguya does get a pump, but the second Kaguya will not stick, which all but seals it for Steve. He has no way to play any extra cards. He has no way to get all of those creatures off the field, and he's only got 800 life. So at this point, there's really nothing he can do. But he doesn't scoop. He goes out in true fashion, and he swings at Steve to deal 900 damage, and then passes the turn. So he's a real trooper here, and lets the game finish out, even though he knows that he just loses. So while they're finishing that out, I think I'll just let you know that the deck profiles will be up on Saturday. Huge thanks to these guys for letting me show off the decks here. I'm glad that, hope you guys enjoyed it. Go ahead. Oh man, just for insult to injury, plays the Prisia Beast Queen in hiding and gives it a rapid growth. Just complete and total overkill. James extends the handshake. So hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you thought about the decks, about the play lines down in the comment sections down below. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe as always. And until next time, this is DMO73 signing off.